Ladies and gentlemen, today we have another special guest, man, legendary stand-up comedian Roy Wood Jr. How you doing today, sir?
Man, what's going on with you, Pimpin'? How you feel?
I'm all right, man. I'm blessed to get another day. We finally closing out this crazy 2021, man. How you feeling?
Who Lord. Who Lord. That damn virus everywhere, boy. Everybody didn't caught that shit, hadn't it?
Man, that old
Everybody getting
Marion is whooping everybody ass.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Seriously, man. But how have you been on the road, man? You've been grinding, despite everything going on.
Yeah. I mean, I pushed hard up until the end of October when I take my Comedy Central special Imperfect Messenger. And so on the other side of that, I was trying to take it easy for the most part in November and trying to slow down a little bit, which I have. Then I still had a couple of COVID makeup dates to make up from earlier in 22, early in 20 and 21. And I didn't want to have to do those clubs in 22. So I started, so I had to do Tampa, I had to do Baltimore, and coming up around the corner at some point, I got to do DC and Madison, Wisconsin. But the road has been, topsy-turvy. I'm just thankful that I was able to push through and get my television show and get my special shot. My biggest fear was coming up with a positive test the week of my special and having to push my production. That would have crushed me.
Wow.
That would have crushed me. Yeah.
You're still standing. I mean, let's be real. I've done a lot of research because, again, my introduction to you was these pranks. For those who don't know, at some point in the 2000s, between Nephew Tommy, Ricky Smiley, yourself, y'all were like the kings of this phone pranking, man. I mean, how did that come about? What made you want to be a part of that?
Well, that was the necessity of radio back then. The connecting, the one connector between me, Ricky, and Nephew Tommy is we all did morning radio. And so, in urban morning radio, the prank call is a comedic staple. Like, that's just something that people rock with. Even back in the 90s, Ricky Smiley, I would say, was the first on the urban side with respect to the Jerky Boys and everything that they did. To me, the Jerky Boys are the Grandmaster Flash of prank calling, you know what I'm saying? Like, they are the OG, rapper's delight of the shit. But Ricky started in the mid 90s, like 95, 96, and we're both from Birmingham. And so Ricky started on my station. And when Ricky left, I ended up being the comedian that replaced Ricky. There was another guy, Sid Delaney. He did some as well. Sid left. I came in and I started doing prank calls for a minute as well. And so, Nephew Tommy, once he got on with Steve Harvey, they was like, bet, let's do him too. And so, for me, the more the merrier. But that's kind of how that whole thing came about. Like, it wasn't really, my degree is in broadcast. So when I went to get a job in radio, they was like, you got to do pranks. I said, I don't want to do pranks. Ricky Smiley do pranks. And they go, well, pranks are popular. Yeah. Black people fuck with them. So whoever replaced Ricky gonna have to do pranks. Now you can do all that other different, because, creatively, as a comedian, as a man, you don't want to come in and just do what somebody else did. So I had all these other ideas for like songs and sketches and like scripted radio show, just wild stuff. And they was like, yeah, but also you're going to do these motherfucking pranks. You do the pranks, you can do whatever the fuck else you want to do. And, word to Mickey Johnson and Corey White, they kept their word. And so doing the pranks well was essential to my job survival. I'll be the first to say, like, that wasn't the first thing I wanted to do creatively. But knowing what I know now and understanding radio, you have to meet people where they are comedically and then take them on the creative journey. You just can't come in on some different shit. You got to come in with something that's at least feels similar. And so what I did to differentiate myself from Ricky, I just never did any of the voices and characters that he did. You get a prank, but I'm not going to do an overly redneck guy. I'm not going to do a church lady. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do like, Ricky had the whole, my name is Lil Daryl, and he was doing that. Yeah. Back when you could, that was a different, we were at a different level of wokeness in 95. But anything in that ballpark, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'll just do different voices. So I'll do a professional white man, I'll do an angry Native African, and I'll do a know-it-all black person. That's like your uncle who think he know everything, but he don't know shit. And he
Right,
talk fast, so it sound like you know what he's talking about, but see, you don't know what I'm talking about because see, boy, you wasn't there, but I was there. Let me show you how to do it, boy. Like that type of vibe. And
right.
so that was enough to differentiate me, man. And so, creatively, that's just kind of how the journey began. And I just started using radio as a way to gain access to comedy clubs and markets where I couldn't get booked.
Well, were the people over there that you were working for, were they responsible for putting it on YouTube, or was someone of your fans just kind of like uploaded it on YouTube and it took off? Like, how did that happen?
So the way it happened is that we had a lazy webmaster back in like 02, 03 at the radio station. I'm not gonna say he was lazy. None of us knew what the internet was going to be.
Right.
And so because of that, none of us had the real foresight. And so we would do these prank phone calls, right? We would do the prank phone calls and they aired once. And it's fucking hard to get a good prank call. To get one good call, you got to make 4 or 5 calls that don't pan out. And you still got to edit. So each call could take 2 to 3 hours. If you're doing them quick style, an hour. From concept to execution to edit, you could do one in an hour. But if it's somebody that's like a person, like if you just call them a business, you can knock that out. But if it's someone that a fan put us up to call my aunt and make sure you say this, you can only call her between this time and this time. Like that shit take 2 hours, dog. And then it might not be funny after all of that, and you still can't use it. So now you got to call another aunt. So it was a lot of work, bro. And for this shit to air only once, I was like, nah. So I go to our webmaster and I go, hey man, do you think we could put these pranks online for people to download? I think that would be cool. And then that way, if people want to enjoy the prank, it'll be available for download. I don't know how to, I'm not gonna fucking, I'm still working on the streaming Windows Media Player window. It's not working, all of this shit.
Right.
So that was the impetus for me creating my website. I was upset with our web designer and I created roywoodjr.com. And so off of that, that's when I was able to put my pranks online. So then when I went on air, hey, if y'all enjoyed today's prank, go to roywoodjr.com and download it. So this is 03. And I think that first year of YouTube was maybe 04.
05.
Might have been 05. Might have been 05.
Yep, 05.
Okay.
Yep.
So 03, what happened is that people started downloading my pranks and then email. This is back when you went viral over email. And I tried to explain this shit to somebody a while ago, and they just couldn't fathom the idea of someone sending you an email that had already been opened by thousands of other people before you with an attachment.
Right.
Hey man, open this attachment that I just sent you. And you just, no concern of if it's a virus, none of that. And so my prank started getting emailed all over the country for about 1.5 years. Then when YouTube came, people just started putting my shit online. I wish I could say I had the foresight and I knew ahead of time what YouTube was. I had no fucking clue, dog, because you don't, as a young comic, you inherit the goals of your predecessors, which is a bad thing. So the old heads that I was trying to be like wasn't checking for the internet. So why should I be checking for the internet? I started getting emails from cousins, and then what really tipped me, I started getting emails from people out of town asking me if they had pranked these so-and-so. And I'm like, how the fuck do you even know who I am and what I'm doing? And they go, oh yeah, so-and-so emailed me your shit. I live in Chicago. And that was perfect timing because at that point I was so popular, the prank calls were so popular in Birmingham, most people at the crib knew my voice. So it was getting harder and harder to prank locals. So I had to start pranking out of towners.
Man.
And so it just lined up sweet, man.
Yo, that's it's funny looking back. You always could see it come together, but even during that time period, the way the algorithms work with YouTube, if you clicked on either one of them, nephew Tommy, Ricky Smiley, you was getting thrown right in that mix. So just
Bro, my first YouTube channel, this is like 06, 07. I'm not even exaggerating. I had about 150,000 subscribers.
mm,
Didn't even know the value of that. Didn't even understand that at the time. I just didn't know, bro. I ended up getting enough copyright strikes because I just didn't respect it. I was posting all types of wild shit to YouTube. And YouTube was like, man, if you don't get the fuck out of here and try again.
man, that's the old YouTube too. So god dang, man.
Yeah, bro.
Well,
I had 150K at a time where you went to YouTube to listen to stuff. It wasn't even a video priority website yet.
right. Man,
So
well,
so yeah, that's kind of how it grew, man. And then I took the pranks and I sent them to DJs across the country. And as DJs played my stuff in their markets, I would hit up the comedy clubs and be like, yo, so and so local DJ play me. Y'all should book me. And that's how I was able to expand my reach nationally.
wow. It's funny how things work.
Yeah.
I have to ask, where does the hustle come from? Let's go to the beginning. I know you probably been told the story many of times. I know the upbringing is Birmingham, Alabama. You feel me? I'm just curious as a youngster, were there certain comedians that you like growing up watching? I know it's different in the southern region, from up north. It isn't your normal Pryors and Bernies. I mean, who were some of the heroes you watched, growing up?
I mean, watching on television is the only way I consumed comedy. The first live show I saw was in college. It was Lavelle Crawford and Corey Zooman Miller, who are, Southern legends. Well, I mean, Lavelle's a St. Louis nigga, but, in terms of his domain and his reach, it was Midwest and South. South and Midwest, same vibes anyway. But growing up, Sinbad, George Carlin, Chris Rock, I'd say were the big three that I really kind of put under a microscope, especially Sinbad. And there's another cat that I don't think a lot of folks really he quit. He's not as visible doing stand up as far as I know. But Rondell Sheridan, he was the father on That's So Raven for a
Oh, okay.
while. But
Okay.
that brother that's an 80s, 90s vet. Like that motherfucker was an OG too. And very like when you look at Chris Rock, Carlin, Sinbad, and Rondell Sheridan, they're all cats that if you put the TV on mute, you would still laugh at their face, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're always doing something with their face and their body. Martin Lawrence, especially Martin Lawrence. I was damn near impersonating Martin my first 2 years.
Right.
So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of that growing up, and then I would say once I started doing stand up, the scale kind of changes a little bit because once you've done it, then you start studying the headliners, and I would sit and I would watch niggas for the whole weekend. Like I would do my 30 minutes and then I would sit in the classroom for an hour and watch Bruce go to work, and would watch Earthquake and watch some more and Cheryl Underwood and Adele Givens. And, these were all the vets, Tommy Davidson especially too. I probably opened for Tommy more than any other vet in my career. Just however it just lined up, somehow I always ended up opening for Tommy Davidson once or twice a year. Same with David Allen Greer.
Okay.
As well. Just a different style, a different flow. Like these cats just knew how to fucking move a crowd and do it in a lot of different ways. Yeah. Tommy Davidson, especially because I saw him when he was doing stand up in different markets. Like I opened for him in Charlotte, and then like, let's just say Kansas City, and then Miami. And Miami is a totally different vibe from Kansas City. But I could see how he tweaked the material, tweaked the delivery, played with tempo, stuff like that. Bruce used this casual crowd work to pace himself. He'll rip for 10, play around with the crowd a little bit for 5-10 minutes. But Bruce also has this charisma about him, and he knows how to use his charisma as a tool to keep the audience with him. Pauses and smile. Like Bruce is a master of pausing between thoughts or pausing before delivering the thesis, because he almost wants you to be with him. Because it's like certain comedians want to be ahead of the audience, and then other cats want to, no, I want you to think it, then I'm going to say it, which confirms what you think, which makes you feel smart too. And now you're really, you know what I mean? Like there's just a different, I can't explain it, but it's just something you watch night in and night out, and you see how certain comedians are able to use their weapons. Some more performs, how can I put this? Her show is to make sure that women feel seen. I'm not saying that her show is strictly about the ladies and shit like that. But once women feel seen, then men fall in line.
Yeah.
Because, them girls over there, well, I need to be, what is it? What are we talking about, ladies? Okay, let me talk about it. Let me listen. And it's the way to get the fellas on board and have them with her as well. And so it's just, the stand-up comedy to a degree is psychology, man. It's sociology.
Listen, watching your show and just seeing how.
Hang on a second. I just lost you.
Okay.
It's not you. It's me.
Uh-oh. You got one of them little Ray J joints? Oh, that's the AirPods. What you got? The Emoticon? What you got? The Raycon joints?
There you go. Take that question again.
I was just messing with you. I was saying, what you got? The little Ray J earbuds? What's up? What you? Holiday season,
Yeah.
But no, but I was saying, watching, your stand-up for the first time at Magoobies, man. I suggest everyone, if you get an opportunity, to see Mr. Roy Wood Jr. here, you go ahead and check him out, because it's very unique. It's very multi-layered, and like I understand that sometimes people may not know it because it's not mainstream when you hear Roy Wood Jr., but you're gonna get your money's worth when he's on that stage. And I love how you just implement the Southern tradition, but at the same time, you always back it with the logic. I mean, what made you take that approach in comedy? I mean, I know it had to be rough just being a single comedian from the South and trying to be yourself, be original at that, and not like anyone else before.
Yeah, I think you have to figure out a way to kind of rise above the fold. So, for me, it was just always about, all right, it's two ways that I look at like delivering, figuring out what I want to talk about. One is, what topics out there is no one talking about? Or if it is a topic everyone is talking about, is there an angle that no one else has touched yet? And if both of those, and if it's a yes to either of those, then I'm gonna dive in and start figuring out that what that solution is or what that thing is. And so that's kind of always been my approach, because if everybody's doing the same topics, how are you rising up above the fold? How are you doing anything that's impacting? And not even impacting, but just saying something different so people know that they're getting something different from you. It like everything can't be, there's a lot of black comedy that is McDonald's, and then there's a lot of it that's McDowell's. I just want to be Wendy's. Just give me a square patty, cook the fries a little different. It's still fast food, but it's a lot of cats out there. It's a lot of McDowell's in stand-up comedy, and that's not a bad thing. It's serviceable. You're going to make your money, and you're going to feed your family, and good for you. That's just not what I want to be. I just never wanted to be a lesser thought out version of something that is of another comedian that is stronger and better stylistically. So I just always tried to figure out a way to carve out something for myself.
Well, I mean, I respect your talent, sir. And it's very unique. It's very original. There's none other than, the one of one. And I want to talk about, just your relationship with Comedy Central. From the hood's perspective, we really didn't, know a lot about Comedy Central like that back in the day until Dave Chappelle came on the scene, did what it did. And there was a lot of criticism after Dave left. And it just leaves me curious as to, what was your relationship with Comedy Central? And, how's it been working with them after all these years?
It's been good. Dave and I are not the same in the sense of what we brought to the network. My job is to be Scottie Pippen to Trevor Noah's Jordan. If we're just going to be blunt, my job is to come in on the Daily Show. Trevor's got to handle the desk. And when I first came in, at the time, I was the only black correspondent. I wasn't the only correspondent of color, but I was the only black one. Word to Dulce Sloan, word to Jessica Williams as well, who was also on staff. But what I felt like my job was to go out and what is the black shit that black Americans are angry about and figure out a way to jump into that. And if Jessica Williams couldn't touch it, then I was the one that was supposed to go and touch it. And so during that time, I've been able to do some stand-up specials at a time where also nobody was fucking with me before I got on Comedy Central. And that's the thing where they go, oh man, so-and-so left Comedy Central and when's you gonna leave and go where? I don't know what's out there for me. I know it was out there before 2015 and it wasn't shit for me. Only person fuck with me on a regular basis was Conan O'Brien and BET. If we just just blunt 100, if we're talking about stand up, there's only two entities, Comic View and Conan O'Brien. Everything else was one and done. Letterman was one and done. Craig Ferguson was one and done. Who was the late night boy? No, I didn't do Seth Meyers until I got Daily Show. So it was a very short list of folks that was really rocking with me. And so, Dave did his thing and they fell out and the shit was ugly. It was very ugly. Right. And then you look at, Key and Peele were there for a minute and they did their thing and then they dipped because they had other goals and other things that they wanted to do. So, I look at what I can do during my time here, and eventually my time will be up. Nobody stays on a network or on a show forever. So when my time is done at the Daily Show, yeah, I want to level up the same way Dave did, the same way Key and Peele did. But my time here in the now, I wouldn't say is nearly as drama filled as what it was with Dave, but that's also because I'm playing a different role. Dave was a goddamn quarterback, the GM, the owner, the offensive coordinator. Right. I come in and I can either throw Trevor the oop, Trevor throw me the oop. I can go out and do my own solo thing real fast and come back, and then also the Daily Show gives me a lot of freedom to be able to go off and do like other projects and shit. I just did a movie with John Hamm that come out next year. We did Only Murders in the Building. Tracy Morgan had me on Last OG. I did Better Call Saul. So they've given me a lot of freedom to go and explore other things as well. So I think in that regard, for what it's been for me thus far, the Comedy Central relationship has worked out fine. I've said it honestly that, I've spoken on the record about this, early on in my time here with my first 2-hour specials, that I wish that there was a better streaming option and better ways for people to watch stuff. And then PBS and Paramount merged, and Viacom and CBS merged, and they created Paramount Plus. So, my third special, Imperfect Messenger, it'll be over there, I think the back end of January, somewhere around MLK Day. So at least there's a place for all my shit to live. So they've improved in that regard. But how much complaining was I going to do off the rip when the only person who'd fuck with me is Conan O'Brien once a year for 5 minutes? No, you can eat this or you can wait. My boy trying to Come
No,
hit
it's
me up
all
for a
good,
snack.
man. Listen, I appreciate that answer because we just fans of individuals on these networks. We hear things come and go, but when I do the research and I look into the work that you have done already, I mean, how was it like having your first show? Your first big stand up on Comedy Central. I mean, go into that, man. What was it like? Going through that whole experience.
I mean, that was dope. That was at the time 17 years coming. That was my first hour special, father figure. And it's funny because you think as a comic, I got 17 years worth of jokes to put. No, you don't. Your ideas have changed, your persona has changed, your beliefs have changed. Your first 10 years of jokes you would disavow at year 17. Like you wouldn't even dare set foot into trying that material later in your career. But, honestly, I feel like it's a blessing, but then I also want to make sure that I use some of my time in my career to just, help younger comics figure out their own way through and just kind of be, the OG that I wish I had. Because I don't always get that, or I never already got that growing up. So I wish I got that. So I just try to be that.
Listen, I'm curious as to what is your opinion on, the new wave of social media influencers that kind of get mixed up in, comedian bag. You actually have some that's stepping out on the road doing stand up now. I mean, what are your thoughts on that new generation?
I like them. I think there's a way to parlay. It goes back to what I said at the top. You fuck around and inherit the goals of your predecessors, then you just trying to be what's already been done. A lot of these new youngins, they're creating their own lanes because of exclusion within the traditional paths that have been set forward for them. So there's something to learn from them. That's why the shutdown was kind of good for older comedians, because you niggas had to fucking criticize these young niggas, and then all of y'all had to become internet niggas for a solid year because there wasn't no comedy clubs. Now y'all learning about algorithms and what data post and tags and captioning videos and vertical 16:9 ratio versus 4:3. Yeah, dumb motherfucker. Now you gotta learn all that shit. So I don't think there's anything bad about it. I think if you're performing live, though, make sure you're ready. If you're not, you're going to eventually burn a bridge with your customers. I know traditional stand-ups, these niggas that might be their first comedy show. Them people never come back to comedy again. Maybe. But if somebody makes them laugh long enough, hard enough, they'll still come see you live. And if not, word of mouth will get them when you come through that market the second or the third time. I think the short answer is that there's a lot to learn from the younger comics, whether they're performing on the stage or not. And they could gain to learn something from us on the performance side of things. But I do think that there's definitely a lot of bravado, a lot of big chestedness going on between both camps. That's unfortunate because they could both learn something from one another. But, when I look at the Who is Ryan Davises of the world, God damn it, I just forget Desi Banks of the world, like cats like that who built it from the ground up and then went out on the road and slowly built that shit. Same with, say, somebody like Kev on stage. Like,
Thanks.
build your camp, find the people that you rock with creatively, and grow. And I think that there's a hesitancy with old heads to the audacity of knowing that you don't know everything and having to humble yourself and let some 23-year-old and let some 23-year-old coach you on how to post 30-second videos. You don't like the skits, that's fine, but if the skits getting people to come out and pay $25, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Because there ain't no showcase comedy on TV no more. There's no Comic View. There's no Premium Blend. So sooner or later, you got to do something to build awareness to get people out, which means you have to respect the viewing habits of people on the internet. And you have to learn about the algorithm and what the algorithm rewards and allows people to see, which means maybe you got to do something short and sweet or you can remain a traditionalist and rely on word of mouth, and that's fine. That is also an option. But I'm not going to ever throw shade at someone that has figured out in these times how to make money and to convince strangers to show up to a room to watch them talk. That's literally all we're trying to do. Everything we do is to convince strangers to show up and sit in a fucking chair and be quiet for 90 minutes. And that's wild that the way you went about getting strangers to give you $25 a ticket, I don't approve of. Nigga, hush.
Listen,
figure out your way, I'm not finna sit here and
it's funny that you said, because 2020 has kind of leveled the playing field, if you will. You know what I mean? Now you have to figure out other means and ways to make money, and it's out here. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of those you can call them comedians, at this point, because they have built a fan base. Look at Country Wayne. I mean,
I forgot about Country Wayne. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many that they don't really have to do it like those before did. You know what I mean? It's a new way. And it just makes me wonder, like, what are your thoughts on the future of stand-up, of comedy? And what about the legends that you mentioned? You mentioned a lot of legends, man. Some more Earthquake, Vel Crawford. I mean, what is the future, for Black comedy?
I think Black comedy would be fine. If you don't believe me, pull up the footage of an 85 South show. If you build it, they'll come. Them boys are doing thousands of seats. Fuck a comedy club. They're doing thousands of seats. 2,500, 4,000, 4,500, 6,000 of seats. If you are funny, and you're funny enough for someone to tell somebody else about you, somebody will pay money to come see you. Black or white, it don't matter. And I think that part of it is never going to change. The one thing that has never left our society from the beginning, I'm talking about mankind, nigga, off the grip. I'm talking about my fucking Shakespeare and fucking Roman gladiator shit. The desire for human beings to show up to a place to be entertained has never left. And it's never going to change. Only thing that might change is the metaverse, and nigga put on VR goggles and go to some virtual comedy club. But even still, you could charge people if you want
it. and they will show up. And they will buy.
Yeah.
They already lining up. Companies already lining up for that. So you're telling the truth. I don't want to keep you all day. I know you're a busy man, sir. I want to ask you, though, being in the business for over, what is it, about 20 years now? 20 plus?
23, 24.
You see what I'm saying? We
coming up.
You're moving up to the OG now. You're moving up in the ranking now. But let's talk about a close call. I actually heard about a story where, you and Mr. J. Prince had some issues.
Yeah, that's a classic story, man. Like, the long and short of it was, I was doing a prank call, a celebrity prank call album in Houston. And Jay was one of the people we were supposed to call. And we called this man, and I'm yelling at him, man, Rap-A-Lot whack. And I don't make no money selling Rap-A-Lot tapes. He said, where you at? And man, I must have got so damn scared and then dipped. I left the city. Because I'd done enough pranks to know that this wasn't, you can feel it. I can't explain it, but you can feel somebody's energy over the phone. And he was not playful. Real niggas don't play. They ain't got time for chuckles. And I called this man talking crazy on his phone on a business day. So yeah, I might have to come where you are and beat your ass. And I could feel that in his voice. So I left the state of Houston. I left the state of Texas.
The same day.
Yeah, dude, I was in Houston all of 4 hours. I was gone, bro. Hey. And then come to find out years later, Sway asked him about it. And he was like, yeah, I might have been headed over. Maybe. You never know. Real niggas ain't gonna never admit what they was doing. But to this day, I know that I made the right decision. You, this is my first time in Houston too. I ain't got no backup. I never performed in Houston as a comedian, so I ain't even have nobody that could like, hey, can you call this nigga to help dead this shit, or can you come middleman or set up a parlay? I ain't know nobody. And when you in another nigga's turf, oh, you got to fucking lay low, bro.
It's an away game. It's an away game.
It's an away game. You got to lay low. So, man, let me get the fuck out the studio and take my ass. Go and take my ass back to the fucking airport. Get on this Continental Airlines flight.
You heard what he said, though. He just wanted to laugh in person with you. That's all. He just wanted to laugh in person.
I'm straight. I'm straight, bro.
Oh, man. You know.
But yeah, that was a prank I did one time in Cleveland. A nigga came to the show to fight me. I pranked him like 2 months earlier. He still wasn't past it. And he came to the show, and then, like, he waited at the merch table, waited for the whole meet and greet to die down. He came over. He go, I just came over here just to show you. If I wanted to touch you, motherfucker, I could touch you. Don't never call my house again. And then walked off. I'm like, this nigga paid $20 and a 2-drink minimum to tell me stop fucking with him. You got to respect that. Like, that's some, like, I pissed him off for real, for real. Like, he was mad for real.
Listen, I'm sure you got plenty more crazy stories, but the one I just got caught on to recently, where apparently T-Pain's dad was the one that held you up at the club. Was that actually confirmed, or was T-Pain just messing with you?
Wait, one more time. Say that one more time.
I said when I one of the craziest stories I just seen with you being on T-Pain's on podcast on his YouTube channel, and he was saying that the story that you had about doing stand up on the road for the brick for consignment, come to find out was his dad.
Oh, that's legit. No, that wasn't his dad. Oh, no. Somebody twisted that. Somebody twisted that on you.
Okay.
No, I had a gun pulled on me at a club that T-Pain's daddy owned.
Oh, okay.
By some niggas that was renting the venue from T-Pain's daddy. But I've also done shows for dope boys who didn't sell their dope in time. And yes, they tried to pay us with a little pinch off the brick.
When you told that story, I knew you was hood. It don't get no hooder than that nigga talking about Western Union. I said, no, that bro, he's solid.
To be fair, though, he was a man of his word. We show up to do the show, because basically what dope boys do, for the listeners who don't know, if you lose your shit, the police, take your shit, or you get robbed, and you ain't got no dope, you ain't got no money. The only way to create overhead is to do a comedy show or, a rap concert or some shit, and you pre-sell tickets. And then you take the pre-sale bread and you buy a brick or buy however much dope you can buy off the pre-sale bread. And then you flip that before the show and you pay your talent with the profits. And then you're back in the game. You back, you back up.
Right.
It's a solid plan. If you can sell the dope before the show, we got to the show. These niggas hadn't sold the dope yet. So, and they can't cancel the show because they also don't have the money to refund the tickets because they ain't sold the dope yet. So they begged us, do it. Well, they ain't begged. They pulled a gun and told us, y'all gonna do this show and then we gonna Western Union you your money. And some of the comedians stayed and some of the comedians was like me and just dipped. I'll be right back. Gone.
Man, you good at that, huh? You good at leaving, huh?
Bro, I ain't finna be fucking around with y'all like that. I'm straight, fam. I got the fuck up out of there. And so then sure enough, they actually did Western Union all the money. So I can't even be mad.
Hey, salute to them for being a man of their word, man. That's a hell of a story right there, man. Like I said, you do the research and you've done a lot already. From radio. Now you're starting to seem like you want to move in a different direction. What is the future of you moving forward with your brand and comedy?
For me, man, it's production. It's TV. You know, I want to write more. I want to create more. So that's what I'm on. You know, we got a script in at Fox, got a script in at NBC. We're trying to make this shit happen, get one of these TV shows on the air so I can, you know, try and create. That's it.
Okay, man. You got any shows coming up recently? You know, anything coming up soon at the top
Nothing
of the
right
year?
now. Just RoywoodJr.com and niggas can keep up with me like that. February is when I kind of step back out a little bit. I need to take a break and focus on these scripts and all of that stuff first. And so once I get on the other side of that, then I'm back in the game.
All right, okay. Well, before I let you go, I gotta ask you, man. Do you have any crazy Baltimore stories or DMV stories, man? First time.
No, you know what's wild about Baltimore, man, is that every time I played there, even pre-Magoobies, I used to play the Comedy Factory. Shit, it was Inner Harbor,
Yeah.
and I played it before that. Before it was in that like that little, I call it that Dave and Buster zone. Well, that celebratory power, is it the power plant? Is that
There
what
you
it's
go.
called?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Um, and then before the power plant, it was above a restaurant. It was like a pub. It was above a pub. Now, that was the Comedy Factory I fuck with. That shit was a low ceiling. It was funky. The carpet was nasty. Like that's good comedy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But nah, every time I've been to Baltimore, man, I go to fuck home. Cause y'all ain't getting me caught up in no shit. All I know is that the third time the Comedy Factory was out there is a Holiday Inn, and I know it's the same parking lot where niggas catch the megabus. And I saw niggas out there fighting, and then the megabus pulled up and they stopped fighting. And I was like, oh, okay, well, they both still trying to get where they gotta go. Like I respected it in a way. Cause the megabus ain't coming, but like every 19 hours or some shit. So you miss this one, nigga, you gonna have a long weekend. So,
Right.
yeah, the East Coast is different, bro. I was in a bathroom in Philly in a food court, and two niggas was fighting, and I came in to take a piss, and they both stopped fighting and let me step over them to piss, and then they started back fighting again. Like I appreciate that courtesy. Like there's hospitality on the East Coast. It ain't just in the South.
No, that's very true. That's very true. I had so many people tell me their own stories of Baltimore. So, you know, if it isn't, you know, the questions about the wire, sometimes you just gotta hear, you know, when you're outside. Because
Yeah.
when I'm out of the state, they always joke on my dialects. Baltimore, we apparently we say words differently. So
Oh, of course. But yeah, do you, man? I'm from Alabama. I ain't gonna never criticize nobody's accent.
that's a fact. That's a fact, man. Well, like I said, man, y'all make sure to follow Mr. Roy Wood Jr. on all platforms. He's very active on Twitter, very entertaining. I think they should cut him a check immediately because some of the tweets you put out there is crazy. You know what I mean? I just love how quick you are on the, you know, on your feet for real, man. Like I said, it's not just one trick pony with you, man. You're very strategic. You know what I mean when you're on that stage, and I love it. So if you ever get an opportunity to see this man, please do. I wish you, you know, nothing but peace, prosperity, and success moving forward. You know, keep your health right. Make sure them kids all right. They don't tire you out in the
Yeah,
background.
man. You already know, bro.
And yeah, if you ever want to come on the platform, you know what I mean, whenever. I'm always be here, sir. So, you know what I mean?
Done
Thank you
deal.
again. All right.
Cool, man. All right,
All right.
Pimp. Have a good one, brother.
Till next time. Peace.
Yes, sir.